Hello, and today I want to talk about drawing the line, some ways to improve. This could apply to those that are more advanced, but this is mostly for beginners. So I'm going to show you some ways that I improve. One way I like to practice to improve drawing lines is to just draw a lot of them. And I'll continuously draw them over and over and over of varying lengths and angles. So say for example I'm drawing a line in this direction. I don't want to get in the habit of only being able to draw lines in that direction. I want to train my muscle memory in my hand and my eye coordination to be able to draw lines not only in that direction, but also at different angles. A great way to practice this is to imagine a circle, such as the shape of the sun. Now what I'll do here is I'll draw lines going all the way around it, all 360 degrees. This will help your eye and hand coordination practice drawing the lines in different directions. Another great way to do this is to make sure that when you're holding the pencil, you don't have your grip too tight. For example, if I'm drawing something that is very detailed, I might have my pencil like this if I'm drawing very intricate and small lines. But if I'm drawing something more loosely, I'll let up on the pencil and hold it back farther at the body of the pencil or the pen, such as I have here. So with a looser grip and holding the pen back farther, I can get longer lines because I'll be drawing with my entire arm rather than just drawing with my wrist. So I'll give an example comparing drawing with your wrist, with your hand choked up on the pen like this, versus a more relaxed way of holding the pen. So here's an example, holding it up close. You see, as I do this, I can't really draw lines that are that long because when I go any further than here, my hand doesn't move any farther, so I have to move my entire arm. So holding the pen like this will give you much more control, but it's more important to be used for when I'm drawing detailed and small lines. Whereas, for example, if I'm drawing and I want a longer line that goes across the paper, and for example, say I'm sketching or I want something to be more expressive, I'll hold the pencil at the body part and I'll relax on the grip of the pen. Here's an example. As you can see here, because I was using my entire arm, I'm able to move all the way across the paper, and I'm not choked up on the pencil and holding onto the pencil very hard. I can get a much looser writing experience. But at the same time, you don't have as much control as you have when the pencil is held like this at the lower part, to where you have more control of the pen. Now, depending on what pen and pencil you're using, some of these techniques may or may not work. For example, if I'm using an isograph or something that requires you to hold the pencil at a vertical angle, this won't be very useful, because with the rotating isograph, you're always going to have to hold the pen at more of a vertical angle so that you don't damage the nib, and also because of the ink flow. This can also apply to fountain pens and other type of pens that require an ink flow to the end of the pen. But with something like a fineliner or a pencil, this can affect your drawing experience, how shading looks, the width of your lines, and your overall final image. Another way I practice drawing lines to improve how fast I draw them is to do cross-hatching. For example, I'll draw lines in one direction and then I'll go over them in the other direction so I can practice shading as well. This can give you an effect of a shading look to the drawing, even though you're not actually shading as you would do with pencil and graphite. Here's an example. So I start drawing my lines, and as I'm doing this, if I keep practicing over and over, I can start going from very slow like that to going much faster, to where I can get the lines lined up much more quicker than I can doing this. And if you keep doing that a lot, you'll train the muscle memory in your hand and your eye coordination to be able to draw these over and over, and you can get drawings done a lot quicker. And this can be very helpful for when you're doing cross-hatching. Here's another example. So I'm going to practice some cross-hatching and show you an example of that. So I'm drawing lines in this direction. And as you can see, I've got them lined up and spaced out pretty much all evenly. Now, if you're a beginner and you've just started, you might start doing this and it'll look like this. You know, they might be spaced out different and they might not all have straight lines that are all even, such as like this. As you can see here in this example, the line is broken up and it doesn't go all the way across the paper. And that can be due to your hand and eye coordination and muscle memory that you haven't quite trained yet to be able to draw lines consistently all the way across. Also, if you're drawing with graphite and other pencils or say charcoal, you're going to be pressing on the surface a lot. So if you come from a background of drawing with graphite a lot and you switch over to using pens, the experience is going to be a lot different and you're going to be used to pressing on the paper. So make sure that when you're drawing with pens, such as fineliners or microns or maybe a virtual risograph even, make sure you're not pressing that hard on the paper. You want just enough pressure to put the ink to the paper and that's it. An exception to this rule would be if you're drawing with a ballpoint pen, because ballpoint pens require you to push onto the paper slightly with more pressure or less pressure depending on the effect that you're wanting to get. So for example, if I have a ballpoint pen and I push on the paper harder, I'm going to get more ink flow, whereas with a fine liner, you always want to press with the same consistency and pressure all the time. Also, when you're drawing lines and you want to improve, make sure that you're not just drawing short, tiny lines like this. Practice drawing lines that are much longer. And also go in other directions. Don't just start from the bottom. Practice drawing from the top. Because what happens if you continue to draw from, say, the same direction all the time, and let's say, for example, I'm wanting to draw a part of an eye or shade something around an eye, for example, such as this. As you can see here, all the lines are going in the same direction. Now, depending on what you want to draw, this can be a good effect, but at the same time, you want to practice drawing to where you can make your lines in the other direction. You don't want your muscle memory to be in the habit of only being able to draw in one direction, because there will be times where light will be going in a different direction, such as this or that way, and you're going to need to crosshatch to get a different look to it. For example, say I have a circle here, and the light is coming across in this direction. Now, to shade this, if I was only able to draw, say for example, in this direction, I wouldn't be able to get as much detail and everything as I could if I was able to draw in different directions with my lines. So, for example, I'm cross-hatching and I've got all my lines that are lined up and then go like that, depending on the light source. Because here it's darker, so you're going to have more hatching lines that way. Now, as you can see here, because all the lines I'm only able to draw in that direction, I can't get as much depth and realistic look to it. So to improve that, what I'm going to do is I have my circle, and so now what I want to do is draw my lines in varying angles and directions. So now I have that, and now I'm going to go in with more lines going the other direction. And then I can vary this again to get more shading on this side in another direction that is different than the ones that are going this way or this way. And because of that, if you look at it, it acts as going like this. And because the lines are this way and this way, what I can do is draw lines in that direction or that direction for the shading. So what I'm going to do is draw the lines in this direction to get some shading on the bottom side. As you can see here, that gives you a shading look to your circle, which you couldn't do if all you were doing was drawing lines in one direction, as I've done here. So now that I've practiced being able to draw lines in different directions, and not only being able to draw this direction, this will help me, for example, if I'm doing figure drawing, or say I want to draw something realistic, or maybe simple shapes even. So let's say you're having a problem drawing and you just started. and you can draw all your lines in this direction. And naturally, that's just the direction your hand's able to go. And so let's say you want to draw a square and you want it to look 3D. So you put your pen to the paper, you start to draw, and you go to draw your box, and you have trouble getting things lined up because you're having a hard time trying to draw things at different angles and going in different directions. So as you can see here, you'll struggle to draw something as simple as a square. Whereas if you keep practicing a whole bunch, drawing lines in different directions, you'll be able to draw, something as simple as a square with no problem. And you can do it three-dimensionally, and it won't be as difficult for you. And this is going to be very important for you if you want to improve your drawing to draw things more realistically. Because if, as I said before, if you can only draw your lines in one direction, then it's going to be very difficult for you to try to imagine things three-dimensionally. Because as you can see here, now that things are more lined up and I'm able to draw lines in different directions properly, I'm able to make a 3D cube, which can be useful if you're drawing something, say, such as the human face or the anatomy, because it'll allow you to have an underdrawing, such as a sketch with pencil, if you're going to start going into the ink after it, to where you'll have the underdrawing that'll help you for when you do your final drawing at the end. And so if I try to line things up here on this cube, you see how everything's off? Nothing is lined up properly, because if you just haven't been practicing enough, you're not going to be able to draw those lines in the proper alignment in different directions, as I said before. So that's going to drastically change the way you're capable of drawing things, from doing perspective, figure drawing, hyperrealism, and maybe you do abstract, or whatever it is. So I guess a way to explain this, to practice drawing this, would be to just imagine the sun and the light rays coming off of it in different directions. Just practice drawing these over and over, just make a circle and then practice drawing lines in all the other different directions. And you can just do it with, different shapes. You can do squares, practice those, and then do triangles, and then maybe, you can just do circles. A circle would be a great way to practice, because you're forcing your hand to go in all 360 degrees, all different directions, whereas if you're just drawing squares, you're just going in a couple of different angles in different directions. So practicing drawing circles is going to help you a lot as well. And vary it. Draw them large, draw them small, draw, like ovals, draw your ovals in different directions. And that's going to help your hand and eye coordination so that you can draw things a lot better. And you're not stuck in this rut of always feeling like you're not improving. And this is what's helped me a lot when I first started drawing, because I was unable to draw things, for example, in this direction. I was always able to draw things this way and this way, but I struggled drawing from the right to the left. And if you keep practicing that, you'll be able to draw things in different directions. And this just comes down to muscle memory and coordination. So just keep practicing at it and keep doing it over and over, and a lot of repetition. It's going to be a lot easier for you. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you have any questions, go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. And if you have any suggestions or questions about any other beginner tutorials or videos that you would like to see, let me know down in the comment. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions about any other tutorials you'd like to see, or suggestions about something you'd like to have help with for drawing, let me know in the comments below. But for now, thank you for watching. Please subscribe and have a good day. Thank you.